All right, stay tuned for a full recap on the Day 7, Round 6 of the Copa versus Craig Wright Satoshi identity trial. All the fireworks in the courtroom today after this epic battle is unwinding for the identity of Satoshi Nakamoto is finally potentially going to be revealed. And we'll make a call here on who actually wins today at the end. So let's just start with a little kind of a background recap as to what happened. So we had Dr. Wright up on the stand again for the Day 6, and the last 5 calls we got a match where we got Wright at 3 and then Copa at 2. So 2 Copa, Wright 3, 2-3. Copa being the plaintiff. And going into today, Wright was up on the stand and they were going through the Rosenthal report. Now, the Rosenthal report was some of the day. They were going through basically a lot of the expert opinion that Rosenthal had put through regarding some of the documents and trying to identify forgeries, identify inconsistencies in Dr. Wright's testimony, and discredit his references to past documents, mainly centered around the white paper, Satoshi white paper. So Wright's got he's got himself in a little bit of a hole here with the expert rebuttal evidence. Now, the expert rebuttal evidence we talked about before, this is just basically where the 2 experts, not Craig Wright, Copa's got theirs being Rosenthal, and then Craig's got an expert which will come forward in the coming days, which is going to rebut the Rosenthal report, will come forward and challenge what Rosenthal's saying. But apparently, according to Wright's testimony, the expert evidence that he has is weak in rebuttal. So it's a major handicap that Wright's facing right now, causing kind of an uphill battle for him in rebutting that evidence. So while Wright's been laying the groundwork, though, however, with the exciting parts, he's actually been setting the groundwork to potentially revealing his ability of signing the Genesis block. And this is, this is a really complicated nuance, but let me just see if I can articulate it the way I see it happening. So Wright, being a person with extreme sense of autism, and my mom being like a person that taught in classes on this stuff, and a learning play center which I was brought up in myself, so I know a little bit about it. But she would say this is like an extreme case on the autism spectrum with Wright. So he has it in his mind that he's set on his mind as being the possession aspect of the keys being a portion of the law under the UK, but the identity aspect is the most important part for him to prove first prior to the possession part. So you got these two issues to prove the Satoshi Nakamoto connection. You got possession and identity. So the big challenge for Wright in his own frame of reference is the identity. That's the most important thing. It appears that the possession part's easy, but he's without the identity. He believes, and he's probably right. Actually, he's actually right in the law, correct in the law, that without the identity, it still doesn't prove the full spectrum of the identity of Satoshi Nakamoto. You've got to have both identity and possession. So what he's explained now is that what happened. What he explained today is back in 2016, he was actually brought forward. Let me see if I can actually articulate this. So, okay, now this is coming back from the Satoshi Affairs. Now, when I first read that, it was about 2 years ago, and read the Satoshi Affairs, there was a guy called McGregor. Now, this, according to Wright and testimony, is fiction, but this part isn't. There was a guy called McGregor who was hired by Wright or brought into Wright. Now, this came out today. Very emotional testimony by Wright, that Wright was to be a kind of a circus pony. It was almost like the wording that Wright used, to be brought forward with a bow on himself by McGregor and sold to the world as Satoshi Nakamoto, this circus elephant or circus animal. And Wright was very emotional about this and very upset. He's saying that McGregor was going to get $1 billion and Wright was going to get a few crumbs. And so McGregor had set up an interview with BBC. And Wright was going to be on, this is a video that came up, Wright was going to be on the BBC, and he was going to identify himself as Satoshi Nakamoto on the condition that they would also go through his proof packet, which would include all of the Wright's patents, all of his life's work, which he has been building up and creating this project. So that is unknown as to all what the proof packet includes, but it was absolutely part of the deal that Wright had with, according to his testimony today, that with McGregor, for McGregor to go forward with the BBC and having him on the show and doing this signing, they had to also go through and reveal the proof packet. Accordingly, BBC cut the segment down to 5 minutes or so, and they were just going to do the signing. They were just going to do the possession aspect. So Wright pulled the plug on the project and decided not to go through with it. And then a lot of this stuff came afterwards with the turmoil and the complications. But Wright's been sticking. What's coming out now, it's rather interesting. He's been sticking strong to his guns on this idea of, I'm not proving possession until he proves the proof packet. And so this is now coming out in trial. Again, this gets to the speculation point, which, I'm really trying to do my best to stay out of, because everybody online and in the world can speculate and theorize on, well, maybe this, maybe that. That's why I'm saying today goes to Copa. All right. Because speculation aside, what Wright's saying and theorizing on and possibly maybe doing aside, we don't really know yet. What we do know, according to his testimony, is that his expert rebuttal evidence is weak. That means the Rosenthal report, unless there's going to be a motion to exclude that from his counsel, Lord Gravenue, who's back in action, then that's going to get in, and then Wright would be facing a judgment in this case, most likely. All right, that's just a realistic fact. So now, but what Wright seems to be setting the table on, because he's not out, is he appears to be setting the table that when he gets in to start to present his side of the argument, which is going to be where defense counsel, Wright's counsel, Lord Gravenue comes in and starts to cross-examine Wright. Apparently, this could, we don't know, be Wright's time to shine, where he gets to eventually get his proof packet. And so what Wright testified today is, if he gets the chance to get this proof packet, which he talks about on the record, which we don't know what that is, or if it even exists, or, if that actually happens, then Wright apparently felt like he would be comfortable with doing a signing. Now, what is a signing? It's so complicated. It's really over my head. It's really on how he's explaining this. It's not as simple as we know, where we just go on a regular signing. It's not like that. He's got a very complicated nuance on how it all works. Seems like he's the only one who really understands it. A couple people like Xiao Lu, which I talked about yesterday, maybe one of the few others that seems to understand what a keyless signing is, and on these little very unusual nuances. However, that's definitely not off the table. But apparently the whole strategy in Wright's mind is he must first, at all costs, win, lose, or draw, get his proof packet or his identity packet on the record and out into the world at oral testimony before he does that. So we're waiting right now, day by day, to see what happens. Tomorrow, is it going to be tomorrow that he's crossed for these questions? We don't know. So, it's like, we got to be tuned into trial every day, because it's literally history in the making. No matter what happens, win, lose, or draw on either side, history is in the making. No doubt about it. This is going to be looked back on at one of those trials that will always be remembered and talked about. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who tunes in and watches this program, for me to kind of do my little non-lawyer recap, from a guy from California who ain't even in that thing. I'm not some attorney, barrister in UK explaining all this stuff. I'm just looking at this from a strategical perspective, and I'm seeing it, doing the best I can to recap it in a really summarized approach, the way I'm seeing things happen. So thank you for watching and tuning in and giving me the opportunity to be a little part of history in the making, win, lose, or draw. Yeah, so to recap, it's definitely still anybody's case. I would say we got an even Steven momentum going into Wednesday morning. With Copa taking today, Wright still pulling back. I mean, Copa taking today because of the rebuttal evidence. You got to realize that I'm looking at this on a perspective of what really is before the court potentially, and that's that unopposed rebuttal evidence from Rosenthal potentially. That is a big hurdle. However, with Wright now building this momentum of potentially exposing that he's maybe Kenny, we don't know. Maybe Kenny signed with this keyless, complicated signing on the Genesis block. We don't know. But he's starting to hint at releasing this never say die attitude of I will never do that. He's starting to give us clues to saying, well, as long as I get my proof package on the record, which apparently is his life's work, the patents and all the other, the things that he's been working on, it's truly inspirational watching the trial and seeing it unfold with him on the stand. Love him or hate him, the guy's incredibly passionate about it. And he's just, it's very inspiring. It's very inspiring to watch what he's got to say about his entire life's work about this project. And, bringing up the point of the fact that he mentioned yesterday about Bitcoin being just 1% of the entire vision. Whether you believe that or not, it's very inspiring to think that this entire giant vision for this global ledger with infinite scaling is literally unfolding before our eyes in this courtroom, because the world's watching, whether they say it or not. We got the biggest players in the world on the other side of the ring. They seem to be quiet, going to the Super Bowl, wearing the shirt for the trial. Satoshi on the shirt, the whole thing. They're out there. They're obviously watching. They're on this side. They're on the plaintiff's side. It's clear. So they're watching. They're not making talking about it, but here we are, doing our little daily recaps on it, and I bet you they're probably even watching this video. So I appreciate everybody watching, and I do want to just say that I'm giving the other side. I'm open to hearing all sides of the argument. Today I'm going to be doing a talk with Crypto Rick. Definitely interesting to hear what he has to say. I'll be doing a little video on that and hearing his perspective on BSV, BTC side of stuff. And then tomorrow I got a patent attorney, David Pierce on. Super, super interesting. So be sure to subscribe to this channel, and if you haven't already, and watch out for those 2 interviews coming up over the next coming week. I'll release those. But patent attorney David Pierce will be on tomorrow, and he's going to break us down on a lot of the legal stuff that are going on in the courtroom and the court case. And one of the things I will say about that's important about Hoff, back to the case itself. So Hoff is counsel for Copa, and really one of the things to get clear on the record, and attorney David Pierce actually was good at, I actually learned this from him, and that is, Hoff's job is to get Wright to say yes or no. He's got a list of questions he's going through. He's a barrister. He's going to go through each question. He wants Wright to get yes or no. When Wright goes off on a long tangent or into a lot of other things that seem to be over Hoff's out of his scope, Hoff then has to kind of recap and say, so are you admitting this or denying it? Yes or no? That's really what he's trying to get him to narrow it in on. And then sometimes Wright will punch back and be like, what did you just say, Dr. Wright? What was that? Stop. Where are you going with this? And then some other subjects come up. So Wright's done a great job at deflecting, actually saying yes or no a lot of times, which probably is not in the favor of Huff, because that's his job, is to get Wright to say yes or no. Is this true or not true? Get it on the record, Dr. Wright. I mean, that's the goal of the barrister, Huff. He just wants simple cross. In a perfect world, Wright would say yes or no and nothing else. In a perfect world. Obviously, it's not that easy when you got Dr. Wright on the stand. So he's painting a picture of this global vision that he has of his life's work of Bitcoin. So it's definitely it's a bloodbath, man. It's an exciting bloodbath. We're in the Super Bowl of court cases. The Super Bowl's over. So I just want to say thank you to them for letting me be a part of history. So everybody tunes in and can literally get a little recap on the video from a freaking guy like me. So this is Gavin Mail. Be sure to subscribe, share the video. Thank you guys for sharing the video, and hit the like button. Retweet the video if you get it on Twitter, and get the message out there. I'll see you guys at the top.